We are in Croatia. Specifically, we are on Brac Island, and this is a very divinely led trip. All of our trips are, of course, but this one was pretty unique in how it called us forward. Yeah, essentially, I want to say 15 months ago, like it was over a year ago, the two of us had quantum hypnosis sessions. And when I went into my quantum hypnosis session, I had channeled and shared information about how the two of us would be going to Croatia. And at the time, Croatia was not on our bucket list. It was not on our radar really at all. So I was like, this is really interesting, but my higher self and what I essentially channeled was that we're being sent to Croatia. It'll be at a very distinct time in our life with everything going on at the time that we book it, and it's something that we will talk about on our podcast and will be very activating for us. We didn't even know where Croatia was, so we were like, not to act like we didn't believe, but we were like, okay, like let's just see what happens, I guess. And then it was funny because about a week or 2 weeks after that quantum hypnosis session where I brought that information forward, we received a DM from someone, and she said, hey, I just wanted to share this opportunity. It feels like something that would be aligned with you two, and it was a Croatia is Calling, and it was a women's retreat, essentially, that would be here on Brac Island, and we were like, you have got to be kidding. Honestly, when these things happen, it's, the ways of the universe never cease to amaze us. So we knew when we got that message that there was something there for us, and we needed to figure out how to get there and when this would happen. Yeah, and then it was a time period where we couldn't book that trip because we were traveling actually at the same time, a different location, and we were like, we're just going to keep an eye out, and we ended up booking this retreat, and it's all about the divine feminine and tapping into that goddess energy. It's so interesting too because we knew when we got the message, we're like, there's something here, we have to go there, and we have to meet this person, and like whatever it is calling us, and we have to follow that. So of course, there's always unexpected things on the path, but you have to trust it, right? Especially when Lacey and I are traveling, and when we know that there's some type of activation that needs to occur in this location. So we actually had everything planned out. Then we received an alert that there were going to be really bad, severe thunderstorms happening in the Midwest, which we're in the Midwest. Our flight path always leaves, usually through Chicago. So we decided that we needed to take the universe up on this offer with a travel waiver to make changes to the flight with no additional fee. And we changed our flight path to avoid the flights. And of course, that worked out really well for us. We were able to make those changes and still get to Croatia as planned. Within the time frame that we wanted. So it was really cool to actually make the pivot, right, when these things happen, especially when you're in an abundant portal that we're entering into right now in Croatia. It felt so divinely guided, honestly, when we got that text to change flights, and we felt very protected and amazing. And then we essentially arrived, and we had 3 flights to get here, and then we had to go into town and catch a ferry to get to the island. So a lot of travel, but now we're finally here, and then we were able to essentially experience the water right away. We got into the water right away because it's just gorgeous behind us here. It's mesmerizing. It really calls you forward. Yeah, and it's this beautiful bay where it's just great swimming, although it is rocky if you start in the shallow end. Well, and we were so exhausted, we didn't really sleep on our flight, so we were just dead tired. It's when you go over 24 hours without sleeping, and you're in 3 different time zones within that span of time. So the water was energizing though. It's we got into the water, and then it was just okay, we can do this, we're ready to go. We had actually kind of a late first night, so it really did work. It really energized us. And it's been so gorgeous here. It is really, really warm, which I think warm climates are different for the two of us, but the water's so refreshing. And we had an opening circle last night, which was beautiful and amazing. And we also have a chef that's cooking meals here, so it's very, very indulgent. I think one of the first things we were offered was water, and they said sparkling or still. And I was like, let's try sparkling. And then they were like, do you want lemon? And we were like, yeah, we want lemon. So it just feels very indulgent and luxurious. And sometimes, something as simple as lemon can really really changed the experience, I think. So we also thought it was really funny when we got on the ferry. They asked us where we were going. We were like, oh, we're going to Milna. Obviously, because of our luggage, we needed to know where we were going. But then the guy's like, oh, are you, like, you're part of the crew? And we were like, crew, like, we're all together? Like, we had no idea what he was talking about. And then it was really funny because he basically was like, oh, like a crew, like, you're working on a ship. So I just thought it was really funny because he thought that we were, like, coming here to, like, work for the holiday season, like, on a crew. And, like, Lacey and I were like, all right, sign number 1 that we need to be here. Absolutely, it's so funny. It's just too funny, especially like when Lacey and I watch reality TV. So we're like, all right, we're gonna have our moment. Alright, so yesterday's adventure was we went to Vidova Gora, which is the highest point on Brac Island. It is said to be like the heart chakra of the island, so it definitely was a activating experience. It was quite a freeing experience, I feel like, when you're at the top there, and it has this amazing view of Golden Horn Beach too, so that's obviously a bonus. And then after that we drove to Golden Horn Beach, and we got to hang out in like a little shaded cabana, I would say, and just, DJ and everything. Yes, there was a DJ. We had drinks, and then we got to like go in the water. It was a very, very busy beach, I would say, and their beaches are like full of like little round rocks here, so it's not like sandy in the same way that other beaches are. Yeah, it's really fun to navigate your landing into the water with the rocks. Yep, so we spent a couple hours there, and then we headed over to a smaller beach that was less crowded. It was by a little, like, church kind of ministry thing that looked honestly, it looked like it was out of Mamma Mia. It did. Quite picturesque. I also found a, 50-cent euro coin on the beach, and I feel like that was, what it reminded me of, it actually reminded me of the Mintakins. So I was like, oh, this is interesting, like, gifted a coin on the beach. We ended up using it, of course, but that's what it reminded me of, like the little trinkets that Sirians or a lot of times Mintakins leave trinkets, actually, though. Yeah, it was a very interesting beach, but we headed over to that smaller beach then, and then we did dinner like at a little restaurant that was literally like on the water, and it was obviously very gorgeous. There was there's like a church bell that would go off, and then we did a little bit of shopping, and it was like the day was gone by then. Yes. So the other thing I was going to talk about is when we were pulling out of the driveway. It's a very, very like tight walled-in driveway, so it's a lot of like backing out, moving forward, backing out, and there was this teeny tiny thing sitting on the like stone wall that walls in the like whole driveway, area. Like a foot from the car window, because that's how tight it is. Yes, and it was like teeny, and I was like, what is that? And it was this tiny praying mantis that was green. A baby praying mantis. Like baby and bright green. Yes, and it was literally at 444 that I pointed it out to everybody. And then I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And then we were doing like a morning yoga meditation session. And I got this download from this essentially like mantis being that was talking all about foundations. If you don't know, like 444 is kind of a foundational number about building your foundations and strong structure. And he was talking about when you used to feel like small, and now like as you build the foundation, you start to feel big. And so it was this reflective message about how you were maybe playing it small and where you could be taking up more space and being bigger in the room. Mm-hmm. And of course, the message comes through when we have like the tiniest praying mantis in the world, like talking about taking up space. Ever the ironic beings, aren't they? It is. We haven't had a ton of experiences with mantis beings quite yet, so this is something we're definitely going to be channeling on and connecting with more. They are a star being. They are a type of star being that comes through with this mantis imagery, and so I think it'll be very interesting to uncover that further. Yes, and they will be on the podcast. Oh yes, they definitely will. on the most incredible hike ever to see the Dragon Cave, and we did not think we were going to make it.
Yeah, honestly, the Dragon Cave hike was probably one of the most difficult hikes we've ever done. I mean, the guide literally had, like, the walking sticks, and it was so hot.
We thought he was being dramatic, like, we were like, why does he have walking sticks? And then it was, like, the most intense thing ever, and we were really lucky that we had closed-toed shoes on, and it was, like, literally climbing up the side of a mountain to get to this cave.
And then he had a little dog with him, so, like, if you hit a stone wrong, the stones are just, like, down the side of the cliffside. It was very, very, very intense.
Very hot.
But there's one person who has the key to the Dragon Cave, and we ended up being able to get inside of it and hear more about the history, look at the carvings. You can definitely tell that the cave is, like, kind of shaped after a woman, and it's kind of like that symbol of the divine feminine and the womb
and birth, creation. It's super interesting, too, because most of the tour was focused on, like, a traditional religious or, like, traditional theology research, but there was very, very obviously a divine feminine element to the cave, and I think that it just was changed over time. Like, carvings were covered up, things were changed. That's why researchers have such a hard time figuring out exactly what the cave was for.
Yeah, and there were all these, like, moon faces that looked kind of mystical, and there's some theories about one of the carvings being covered up and redone because it's indented more than the other carvings, and that's where, like, the dragon and more of the biblical references come from. So I don't know, our theory is there's much more, like, divine feminine going on there than people realize.
I think the traditional religion maybe tried to cover it up because it was not acceptable what they found and saw in that cave at different points in time, which is why they were doing different carvings to change it and make it match maybe their belief systems at the time then. I also think it's interesting, they talked a little bit about, like, this Croatian mythology and basically the tree of life and these different levels of gods within it. One being, like, thunder and lightning at the top of the tree, the middle being this green, like, feminine goddess who was all about, like, giving life, and then the one at the bottom of the roots being water, and it was like this serpent, kind of representing the dragon energy of the cave, and how the top and the bottom are constantly fighting, and it's like the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, trying to get the feminine goddess in the middle on their side. So I thought it was a really interesting mythological perspective on it too.
Also kind of speaks to, like, the spectrum of polarity a lot.
Yes, because it was, like, all about the integration of the two. We had the most incredible sound bath, which Lacey and I actually have never had a traditional sound bath before. Like, of course, obviously when you listen to meditation and things, you can still receive the transmissions through the recorded versions of these, but this was like a more traditional sound bath in person. She had a gong, she had all these Tibetan singing bowls, and it was quite a journey, I would say.
I feel like it was a really interesting journey, especially with doing it at, like, sunset, so then it's, like, nighttime by the time you come out of it, and the moon's right there. And we got to pick, like, a little, I don't know what to call it, like a little message. There was, like, a little message you picked beforehand, and you write some things down, and then you see what comes through during the actual, like, experience of the sound bath itself.
Yeah, my word was infinity, which is definitely reminiscent of the messages I've been receiving, Lacey and I have both been receiving from Thoth, all about the infinite light within us and how we can access our potential in the quantum field. But it was quite like a visual journey. It really was.
Yes, and I had some experiences with Thoth and about just some different messages that I've written down. And the other thing is, afterwards we did this thing where we, like, there was, like, this big metal bowl and you can stand in it, and it's supposed to help you with healing different, like, physical things in your body, and so I had never done it before. So the practitioner offered to let me and Marley both take a turn standing in it while she, like, hit it. I feel like that was a really interesting experience, just based on, like, where you feel the vibrations and frequency within your body. But the other thing is, she was saying that the bowl will sound different depending on who stands in it. So she was like, this is just her pitch, this is her pitch. Like, the different pitches based on who stands in it.
Yeah, I really like that. I really love the, like, long, sustained sounds that come out. So that was a cool experience. The other thing is, too, like Lacey talked about when we started it, kind of like sunset time period. It's like you could totally feel the energy shift when the stars came out. And we had this really great, like, half moon by the end of it glowing in the sky, so it was really cool.
And other than that, I feel like we're having really interesting activations with our physical bodies.
Yes.
Like, whatever transmission and activation is here, we are having lots of physical movements that we are waking ourselves up with our arms and legs. It could be light language, it could just be us integrating the energies.
Yes. Lots of movement of the arms and the legs right now at night. We were lucky enough to enter into the Green Caves, so we spent the day on a boat, island hopping out on the sea, soaking in the codes and the water consciousness energy there. And we went into the Green Caves just to check it out. There's like one sunlight spot that was shining through. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's, if you've heard of the Blue Caves, it's not like green the way the Blue Caves are blue. But it is interesting because there are these like holes on top of the cave that just like come through and shine into the deep depths of the water. So there's lots of people that like snorkel and swim in there, and you have to have like a little boat that like takes you into the location. So that was very interesting, kind of a neat experience to see what kind of codes were in the cave. We made our way to the end of our time in Croatia, and we really built up to the wonderful goddess photo shoot. Yeah, it's been a wild couple of days, hence why you get the lovely new hotel background as we're on our way out, getting ready to go home. But the goddess photo shoot, oh my god, I feel like we could talk about this for hours. We were so lucky to have professional makeup done. It was so fun. And
help with our hair. I mean,
help with our hair.
Help us with our hair, thankfully.
Yep, help with our hair. And then it was all about getting into the zone of posing and what we were looking for. How to take the creative visions in our brains and make them a reality.
It was so much fun, honestly. Lacey and I love putting together outfits. I mean, we are Leo sons, so we always love putting things together, whether it's an outfit, a theme, a costume. So we've been thinking about this a really long time and planning for this for a very long time, and thinking through poses and thinking through like what we wanted the images to convey, like what we feel like needs to come through these images in this photo shoot, because photo shoots really are a portal for timelines. At least for Lacey and I, they are, and they are for a lot of other women I know too. Yeah, and we were excited to do like a whole playlist situation for the vibes of the shoot, and I think that the two of us just loved being able to blare Harry Styles through the streets of Milna and, you know, pose outside of cobblestone streets and on cream stone backgrounds. It was gorgeous. It was very, very sweaty, and it's very deceiving for those that are going to see the photos because it was so hot. People were literally stopping in the street, though, so that was kind of cool, too.
That was cool.
It was a moment. It was a moment.
It was like being witnessed and seen as you up-level into this new version of yourselves. And it's just the evolution of twin essence, and we're obsessed.
Yes. So it really was an embodiment of the goddess, an evolution into this new version of ourselves, this new chapter.
Absolutely. I even felt like the transmission at one point, looking into the lens. I was like, whoa, like energetically, it was like this weird like change in frequency and transmission. So very, very, very powerful, and I think probably our favorite part of the trip.
Yes, definitely.
Then we closed our circle. We all wore white, and we shared about different elements. We actually talked through different like messages or words that might have been coming up for different women in the group, and it was a really cool experience to be able to hear like what people thought about you and what you thought about them, and
tears were definitely shed, and it made us so sad to have to say goodbye to everybody. Yeah, it's definitely like you make these lifelong connections that you know you'll always have in your back pocket for wherever you are in the world where you run into them. It was just beautiful connections. And, you know, we got to try so many different foods while we were here and experience so many different cultural things. And, you know, of course, then today we got on a ferry. We headed back to Split, the mainland. We attempted to do some walking around, even though we had really large suitcases. And they're going through a heat wave right now through all of Europe, pretty much. So, of course, we show up in Europe during that time. And we headed over to the Diocletian Palace. But there was a lot of work being done on it, so there's lots of scaffolding, and it was very hard to navigate with gigantic suitcases. So we ended up getting some gelato, and we were like, okay, I think it's time to hit our last hotel for this trip before we head back over home. And the palace, I'm sure Lacey and I will definitely be back to be able to see it again. I mean, it was only a little bit of a glimpse. We really wanted to have our, like, Targaryen Game of Thrones moment. But it's going to have to wait. It's going to have to wait. The scaffolding's there. And also, from an astrological perspective, like, there is a connection within that palace. You know, it's a former Roman Empire. And part of the Roman Empire, I should say. And, like, they have temples for Jupiter and different things. And it really connects astrologically to what's happening right now. So it's very interesting. Oh, yes. And, you know, we just want to live in that Game of Thrones moment, right? Anything we can do to hit one of our favorite TV show or movie spots, we're gonna do. But until next time, we'll be back Split. I know this is not over. And that's a wrap on Croatia!